Hello, thank you for joining us today. I call the February 15th, 2024 meeting, Human Rights Commission to order. Let's begin with an introduction of commission members, please, starting with Tamba.
Yeah, Tamba Sa, Commissioner Member.
Xavier Welty, Commission Member.
Rochella Boa, Commissioner Member.
Cheryl Schafel, Commission Member.
Nancy Boyle, Commission Member.
Cody Severson, Commission Chair.
Sekou Sirleaf, Member of Commission.
Carolyn B. Crack, Commission Member.
Kristen Nelson, Commission Member.
Zoe Apsey, Commission Member.
All right, thank you all. We'll go into approving the agenda. Approving the agenda next. I'm sorry for the mix-up on the agenda itself. It looks like we have agenda marked third instead of second. We don't have up-to-date minutes right now for the past, so we will move that into March's meeting. So approving the past minutes, we will leave there. And for the agenda itself, we do need to add public comment in there, so I'm going to move that into number 9 right after staff updates before the adjournment. So with that addition, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Thank you. Can I get all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. We will approve the agenda in that context then. Moving right along into our other areas, we would like to have a presentation from Fargo Cast Public Health right now. Doreen, if you wouldn't mind coming up to this podium and talking to us about the cessation efforts that your agency is moving forward with. I believe you have a campaign to talk to us about.
Hello. So I'm Doreen Odera. I'm the community health educator at Fargo Cast Public Health. And we don't necessarily have a campaign, but we just want to talk to you about what we are currently doing in the community. So first, for our tobacco education program, we go to schools and we are doing elementary schools, 7th graders and high school students. And why we are doing this is because there's been an uptake in e-cigarette and vapes. And so for that, we go and talk about harm reduction and just awareness of what is going on in the community. And why we do this is because the initiation age is going lower and lower. So we are having more children who are exposed to vapes and e-cigarettes. So that's why we go to school. And then 2, we have a program for those who are trying to quit or want to quit. It's called BAN, so Break Away from Nicotine. And we do this for adults. And we have another program for also youths and teens who want to try and quit, but they are too young to do nicotine therapy. So we have counseling and we have texting programs for them. And currently we're just trying to reach out to the community so that we have community members have an input on what they want to see tobacco prevention go into. So we are inviting the community to, if they want resources, if they need materials from us, we want to partner with the community so that we know what's happening around tobacco in our community and efforts to continue doing better for the community and maybe provide more direct resources that are needed in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission members?
Very good.
No? Thank you for the wonderful message. Okay, we will move right along into the discussion that we want to have about the ceasefire resolution. Can we have a member from that group step up to one of the podiums, please?
Hello.
Hello.
If you are willing, we did print off copies of each of the resolutions, including upcoming events and pertinent information that we'll be addressing.
Perfect, thank you. Because, the copy that I handed out, I wasn't sure if that was the first or second draft, to be honest, so this will be great.
If you hand everything to us, then
Yeah, we just passed it on.
pass it. No problem.
In case if you guys have more than enough copies, make sure that I get one over here, okay? Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Oh, this is great.
So today we are hoping to address with all of you the desire for a ceasefire resolution being passed within the Fargo City. We would appreciate any feedback on it. We also have a Palestinian member of the community who has brought a letter to read to you all today. 2 letters? Oh, 2 letters today.
And I suppose, would you mind doing a read-through of the resolution itself?
Sure.
Thank you.
Draft resolution supporting a permanent ceasefire and preventing loss of human life in the Middle East. Whereas we, the Fargo City Commission, work to ensure the safety, health, dignity, and freedom of people every day. We believe in the shared humanity of all people and affirm it as a common value held by Fargo residents and leaders. We follow the lead of more than 48 other cities in calling for a ceasefire because what happens internationally impacts our constituents locally. Fargo will likely be taxed millions to pay for Israel's war and to denounce the rise of hate crimes perpetuated against Jewish, Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, and all other community members locally and around the nation. And whereas the ongoing bombardment in the Gaza Strip comes in the context of the 75-year displacement of Palestinians, a 56-year military and settler occupation in Gaza and the West Bank, and the 17-year blockade of Gaza. In 2016, the United Nations Security Council found Israel's settlement activity constituted a flagrant violation of international law. And whereas the Gaza Strip, one of the most densely populated places on Earth, has been repeatedly referred to by human rights groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, as, quote, the world's largest open-air prison, end quote, even prior to this conflict. And whereas Hamas is responsible for the horrific October 7, 2023 massacre of 1,139 innocent people, including 695 civilians, of which 36 are children, and the taking of approximately 240 hostages in Israel. And whereas the Palestinian people are now facing a humanitarian crisis, human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have reported that Israel has been engaging in collective punishment. This collective punishment includes shutting off all access to electricity, drinking water, food, medical supplies, and humanitarian aid. The UN warns 2 million Gazans will soon run out of drinking water and all medical care. Whereas the World Health Organization warns that amid increasingly dysfunctional healthcare and sanitation systems, disease could kill more people than bombs. And whereas Palestinians in Gaza now face severe hunger and famine due to besiegement, bombings, and hostilities. According to the UN, the entire population in the Gaza Strip, about 2.2 million people, is classified in IPC Phase 3 or above, crisis or worse. This is the highest share of people facing high levels of acute food insecurity that the IPC initiative has ever classified for any given area or country. At least 1 in 4 households, more than half a million people, are facing catastrophic conditions, IPC Phase 5, catastrophe, or famine, comprising 80% of all people globally at IPC Phase 5. And whereas, according to a November 2023 United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner press release, UN experts stated, quote, many of us already raised the alarm about the risk of genocide in Gaza, end quote. Quote, we are deeply disturbed by the failure of governments to heed our call and to achieve an immediate ceasefire. We are also profoundly concerned about the support of certain governments for Israel's strategy of warfare against the besieged population of Gaza and the failure of the international system to mobilize to prevent genocide, end quote. And whereas Palestinians living in Gaza are being killed at an unprecedented rate, over 28,000 Gazans, including at least 12,150 children, have been killed in 129 days, meaning approximately 1 child in Gaza is killed every 15 minutes. Over 337 medical workers and over 122 journalists have been killed, proportional to population. The death toll in Gaza is the equivalent of about 4.1 million American deaths. In addition, over 68,000 Gazans are wounded and over 7,000 are missing under the rubble. And whereas the government of the State of Israel has bombed civilian entities indiscriminately, destroying or damaging at least 2/3 of all homes in northern Gaza, 23 hospitals and 141 medical facilities, 70% of schools, over 100 places of worship, bakeries, refugee camps, roads, and other essential infrastructure. This has destroyed access to food, clean water, healthcare, shelter, and sanitation essential to human life and caused mass displacement of as many as 90% of Gazans. And whereas the World Health Organization, United Nations, Save the Children, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the European Union, His Holiness Pope Francis, more than 120 countries have called for a ceasefire to end the violence and suffering in the Gaza Strip. Doctors Without Borders has advocated for a, quote, total ceasefire and the unconditional supply of humanitarian aid, including access to food, fuel, and water. The survival of people in Gaza depends on this, end quote. And whereas on Thursday, January 11, 2024, and Friday, January 12, 2024, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, at The Hague held public hearings in the case brought forward by South Africa against Israel for alleged violations of the Genocide Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide during its operations in Gaza. South Africa's application alleges that, quote, acts and omissions by Israel are genocidal in character as they are committed with the requisite specific intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as a part of the broader Palestinians' national, racial, and ethnic group, end quote. South Africa's actions to receive provisional protections of the people of Gaza are supported by several countries and over 1,000 organizations worldwide. The ICJ's preliminary ruling issued on Friday, January 26, 2024, found it plausible Israel was committing genocide and ordered Israel to take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. Whereas all peoples have the right to self-determination, recognizing the legitimate desire and need for Palestinian self-determination, as well as the legitimate desire and need for Israelis and Palestinians to live in safety and security. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the City Commission of the City of Fargo. The City Commission of the City of Fargo affirms, 1, condemnation towards all acts of violence committed against civilians of any kind. The City of Fargo expresses sympathy for the civilian victims and all those affected by the horrific violence, including victims of the October 7 attack and all subsequent Palestinian civilian deaths. 2, Fargo's status as a welcoming community for those of Jewish and Islamic faiths and any other religions. 3, standing firmly against the rise of and all acts of racially motivated violence and hate crimes perpetrated against our Jewish, Muslim, Palestinian, and Arab constituents here in Fargo and around the United States. And Fargo City Commission supports our state and federal delegations and the Biden administration using their authority to, 1, advance a full, immediate, and permanent ceasefire, along with urgently needed humanitarian aid as a necessary step towards lasting peace. 2, support withholding U.S. military funding to the State of Israel until Israel fully complies with international law to prevent contributing to the humanitarian catastrophe, loss of life, war crimes, and illegal occupation. 3, ensure the release of civilians being held illegally or imprisoned on both sides of the crisis, including the approximately 130 Israeli hostages taken by Hamas and the thousands of Palestinians held indefinitely without cause and or trial in Israeli prisons. Be it further resolved that the office of the city clerk is hereby directed to provide a copy of this resolution to the Fargo's elected representatives, to the North Dakota State Legislature, Governor Burgum, North Dakota's elected representatives to the United States House of Representatives and United States Senate, and the office of President Biden.
Thank you very much for going through that. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to kind of sift through. So thank you for doing that. And I just want,
Of course.
yeah, okay, so opening it up for discussion from the other commissioners, if anyone else wants to say any comments or make suggestions or anything of the sort.
You know, KJ, I think last week at our working meeting, we talked about the inclusivity of the language, really noting that Fargo was built to be an inclusive space, and we welcome folks from all around the world. I work in my professional life with folks from all around the world, and it enriches my knowledge of the world, but it also enriches my knowledge of what folks who aren't originally from Fargo, how they bring a beauty and a betterment to this area. So I absolutely support the resolution as written.
I appreciate that and also the recognition of Fargo's welcoming community as well.
I just wanted to touch on what Kristen said, as well as you guys coming together in the bravery of just bringing this to us and just the awareness. I know we're all aware to some degree, but seeing the passion from young youth like yourself means a lot, because it means that we're paying attention to not what's happening behind our doors, but around the world. So I definitely do commemorate you guys for your brave efforts.
Also, one more thing while you said that, Rachel, we don't want to miss acknowledging the fact that you're here standing for folks, and you all are here standing for folks that might not feel comfortable doing so. And that speaks volumes of the community that does exist here, and just the importance of doing something like this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm pleased to see that this has been narrowed significantly to the issue at hand in the past several months, which is, I think, far more appropriate than very long history. And so I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, KJ. This is a beautifully written resolution. Considering you stated all the facts relating to the conflict and acknowledging what happened on October 7th was vile, and Hamas invasion into Israel, and being responsible for the killings and the kidnappings that were orchestrated that day, that is a good start. I know there are a lot of complexities and division of opinions about this conflict, but one thing that I really want to say is that, yes, we acknowledge Hamas' wrongdoing in invading Israel. That's absolutely wrong. But it's been over 129 days, as indicated here. In my opinion, I think Israel continuing fighting, bombings, and killings of Palestinians in the name of exterminating Hamas is overdue. And I think the right thing that we can call for or do is to stand with you by calling for ceasefire. I know there's going to be a lot of discussions after this as to how Palestinians and Israelis going to move forward, but that's going to be a discussion for another day. The first and foremost priority is to stop the bombardments, is to lay down the guns. It's very sad to see the numbers in here: 28,000 Gazans, 12,150 children, and accumulating that to one child a day. That's very awful to really hear about that. So we stand with you, the city of Fargo. I strongly believe this resolution, I'm hoping that is going to speak to the consciousness of our commissioners and my colleagues here for the city, and see how we can push it forward and stand with all Palestinians and Israelis in general. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have comments they'd like to make? Okay, so as it stands right now, I believe what we're looking for is still to have more conversation with other policymakers around it regarding this, to make sure that we can have the fullest effect possible with it. So while I believe it's fair to say that the Human Rights Commission stands with you and with this resolution, there's a few more conversation points we need to have with other policymakers. And so we'll work with John to make a statement at the next, we'll work with Commissioner Strand to make a statement at the next City Commission meeting on Monday, but we'll move forward with the discussions on an effective resolution. Hopefully the goal is by our next meeting in March 21st.
Okay. Can we welcome up our Palestinian community members with letters?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Abdul Aburzek. I'm from Gaza, Rafah actually, and what I'm about to read to you is real life stuff that happened to my family. So bear with me. I don't even know where to start. I go to sleep every day telling myself it'll get better tomorrow, but it's all horrible and only keeps getting worse and worse. I actually have a phobia of public speaking, but right now my people need a voice, and I want to be that voice for them. And I don't care anymore about the consequences that will happen with me coming up here and speaking today. This is all in my head, and I will never forget. Imagine waking up one day, just minding your own business, in your house, washing clothes. You finish to go out to your balcony to hang them on a clothing line to dry, and out of nowhere, you are shot at. And if anyone comes and tries to retrieve your body or help you out, they are shot at too. If you are lucky, you will die instantly and not lay there bleeding as you scream for help while no one can come get to you. Well, that is exactly what happened to my beloved grandma, rest in paradise. She was shot as she was hanging clothes outside her house. Here's another little story. Imagine getting a phone call from your relatives back home, and once you answer, you can just hear the fear in their voice, and they are begging you to forgive them if they have ever wronged you or owe you money or anything, because they don't know if they will wake up tomorrow, and they don't want to be on bad blood with you before they go. And you answer with, "What's going on?" knowing dang right exactly what is going on, but you act dumb and lie straight to your teeth and tell them everything will be okay, not knowing yourself or believing it. You reply with, "Stop, stop, stop. I forgive you. Wallahi, I forgive you. Bro, forget all the beef we had and just try to live and survive another day." Imagine you calling and texting your relatives every day just to check if they are still alive, and if you don't hear back from them, you can just assume the worst. Imagine your female relatives telling you that they go to sleep in their hijabs and fully covered because they're expecting to die, and when the men dig them out the rubble, they will be covered up and honor God. They go to sleep fully covered, not knowing they might not make it. Just imagine trying to fall asleep as gunfire, tank shells, and airplanes fly over your head, dropping bombs, as you sleep in a tent full of mud. Imagine your little relatives, niece and nephews, telling you that they write their names on their limbs, so when they die, as they are expecting to, they can be identified to what family they belong to. This is exactly what my niece and nephews are doing in Palestine right now. They are writing their names on their limbs to be identified. Imagine Palestinian families trading their kids. In case one family's house gets blown up, at least some will live and not the whole family bloodline be wiped out. You call this a war, but Palestine doesn't have an army, military, air force, navy, marines, or anything. This is not a war, but it's an occupation, oppression, colonization, settlement, apartheid, a genocide. It's ethnic cleansing. It's a concentration camp where everything that comes in and out is controlled by Israel. To name a few, the food, water, and electricity. They hold thousands of children in military prisons with no trials. If you pick up a rock, you go to jail. If you wave a flag, you get arrested. They are committing war crimes. They use white phosphorus, and if you don't know what that is, that burns through anything, including your skin and bones. Let's now come to the U.S. Since October 7th, when everyone thinks this violence started 130 days ago, but to me and my people, this war didn't start then, but it started 27,507 days ago in 1948. There have been multiple hate crimes on Muslim people on American soil. I myself had to unfollow and remove so many close friends whose true colors came out and started harassing me. From a 6-year-old Wadiya in Chicago being stabbed to death by his landlord, to the shooting of the 3 college students in Vermont, to an imam being gunned down as he leaves the mosque in morning prayer in New Jersey, to a stabbing in Austin, Texas. My friends and other local activists and myself were attacked, physically assaulted here in Fargo the other day for standing up for what is right during a peaceful march. Far too many attacks these past few months have happened. When is enough enough? I never in my life would have thought I'd be here trying to convince people that the mass slaughter of women and children is not okay. How is blocking aid trucks to starving people okay, and no humanitarian aid be let in? My mom actually told me she spoke to my aunt, and they had to share 1 can of beans for 8 people. The adults are refusing to eat so they can let the kids eat. The women are shaving their head just to save the water because there's not enough to go around. I urge you all to call for a ceasefire now. I wish I grew up knowing my grandma and going over for some cookies and milk. How many more kids need to die? How many more kids need to be orphaned? Their parents don't even have time to mourn the dead. They are being buried in mass graves, not even proper burial. Please, 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 I urge you to call for a ceasefire. I wish the kids can grow up and live a normal life in Palestine. Thank you.
Hello, Commission members. My name is Abdullah, and I'm a student at Concordia. I woke up this morning at 7:30 to my alarm, and I turned it off. I went to my fridge, and I took out my Brita filter, and I drank some water. I recognized the blessing of life. I had an alarm, I had a phone, I turned my alarm off, and then could only feel the guilt that my nephews are drinking contaminated water back in Jabalia, North Gaza. The guilt overwhelms that my dad was displaced out of my own house at the hands of Israeli soldiers, point blank, and he was told to kneel on the floor and explain why he's not militant. My dad is 69 years old. I woke up at 7:30. That same time in November, the house next to our house where I grew up was bombed, and my nephew was injured. I feel guilty for my cousins that saw their sisters and their nephews in body bags. I only saw them on Facebook. I feel guilty for my nurse brother who was in Al Shifa Hospital as a nurse, and he was calling me because they had cell service at the time in November. But I could hear the gunshots, the tank shells, and the airstrikes clearly through the phone. I received a call from my mom on December 14th, crying the day they were displaced, and my dad had to kneel on the ground. The ground was rubble. My dad is 69, and they were displaced without food or water, and they haven't eaten much for the past week. They were in a house, my house, that was shelled 4 times by dumb bombs that we export from this country. Members, I participated in peace-building camps that brought Cypriots from the north and the south, those who identify as Turkish-speaking and Greek-speaking. I participated in Palestinian and Israeli peace camps that brought Palestinians and Israelis. I lived in places like Norway and Senegal that agree to the fact that we all share one humanity, what I heard from you members today. To recognize my mom's humanity, I called her on Sunday, and I haven't heard from her since, and I haven't heard from her since before Sunday, much before. I told her I got an 86 on my calculus 3 test. She told me, why didn't you get 96? I miss my mom, and I can only hope that I go back to a mom. According to the Middle East Eye, as of yesterday, Egypt is building a concentration camp in Sinai where they are displacing Egyptians and building a camp with a 24 feet high wall for those that they expect to be coming from Rafah. My family stayed in the north with no food or water. They're only eating rice. But if push comes to shove, as we say, and they have to go to Rafah, will there be a journey to go south? And why do they deserve displacement? We have the moral urge to call for a ceasefire, and I urge you to consider the resolution that you have, but also to recognize the importance that we have to move forward with this with clear moral conviction, Shall the resolution pass, or shall it not? What do we owe these people in Gaza? My people, my family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your statements. I'm sorry for the journey that this is going on. Does anybody else have comments or discussion points?
Thank you to you both for coming and putting a human face on this situation. Thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you again for your bravery, standing up for what's right. And I think I sort of agree. The most conscious thing that a human being can do is to, at this point with the situation in Gaza, is to call for a ceasefire. So I agree with you, and I really thank you and admire you for your bravery. Thank you.
So with that, so unfortunately, the Human Rights Commission meets at the deadline for placing any items onto the next city commission meeting. So our goal is to have another working session within about the next 2 weeks to firm this up and either approve or not approve it. At that point in time, it'll get moved to the city commission in communication with Commissioner Strand and others. So that's where we're at right now with it. Again, we appreciate you coming here and, like Carolyn said, putting a face to the resolution. Be expecting that within about the next 2 weeks then.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just
Absolutely.
join for a moment. And thank you all for showing up and standing up and speaking up today. One thought to contemplate as you move forward to your next action items is you may also consider the option of the Fargo Human Rights Commission advances this and approves this resolution. And then regardless of what the city would or wouldn't do, that's a position of our official board, the Human Rights Commission itself. So it's just a thought that I wouldn't discourage you, the commission, from having your own name attached to your resolution. And of course, then we advance it to the city and see where it would go there. But that's just one thought, and because I'm sensing this commission, this Human Rights Commission, will probably take a moral stand that would be reflective of your membership and the people you reflect in the community. So that's one thought. But regardless what you do, I will look forward to carrying this to the city commission informally or formally, whatever your requests are. And I'll say one last thing. We're in the peace garden state. There should be no more state that has more voice advocating for peace than the peace garden state.
Thank you. And so with that, I mean, the original idea was to go to the working session, but I guess, do commissioners want to place a vote on this today?
I would place a vote on this.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
And then before we do vote, I just want to just say this for everyone here. Not everybody has been in a country where it was stricken by war and they seen it firsthand. And to have you come and read that letter and place people's imagination as much as it can go to that particular situation. I want everybody to understand that that firsthand is very difficult to deal with. Fargo have one of the highest or growing highest rate of immigrants. And a lot of these immigrants come from country that has been faced with war. So it's not just Israel and Palestine that we're standing for. When you guys read this letter, you're basically speaking for so many countries that is contributing to our community now. So with this vote, I want you guys to understand that you're not just voting for just this particular situation, but so many others that may come up. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for the courage. I know that you said that you were so nervous speaking in front of people, but it takes courage to give your family that voice. And their story needs to be out. Someone needs to hear it and know that what is going on is not okay. Because when you're disconnected and you don't have that firsthand opportunity to hear what's going on, it's just something that you're hearing or seeing on the news. So I applaud you guys for having that courage.
Okay, thank you very much. I suppose with that, we will pivot this a little bit as it was an agenda item. We have the freedom to do so. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as coming from the Human Rights Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on the agenda item, the ceasefire resolution? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries as a formal adoption of the resolution supporting a permanent ceasefire and preventing loss of human life in the Middle East. Thank you for coming here. We'll dialogue with Commissioner Strand and Dr. Hogan over the next week or so to determine the next steps moving forward on that. But it is a formally adopted resolution for the Human Rights Commission in Fargo.
And just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, as it stands right now, it's the Fargo Human Rights Commission instead of the Fargo City Commission in the resolution, and then we will look to advance it to the city. But for the moment, it's the Fargo Human Rights Commission.
Correct.
And that's the wording. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
is, so, and we can work with KJ and Code Pink to make that adjustment on this resolution as a formality for the Human Rights Commission, yes. Thank you for the point of clarification. All right. With that, we will move into the next item that we have, which is just a continuation of the discussion for the Arbors community. Two pieces we wanted to talk about on that. One, Zoe, can I ask you to provide an update on the conversation you had the other day with Shannon? Okay, thank you.
So yesterday I chatted with Shannon. She is overseeing the Arbors property through Integra Property Management out in Seattle. And we had a really great conversation around they're wanting to hire more staff sooner rather than later so that they can have more hours for community events. We were told at our working session that their hours are limited for community partners to come in due to staffing issues. So in the next few weeks, they will have someone specifically working on community partnerships and getting those services to the Arbors. She also is very, very passionate about creating community within all of her managements, but specifically the Arbors. So really having those conversations of what other ways, what other services can be brought there, how can they be collaborators in Fargo with other organizations. So connecting Shannon with a few other organizations in town that are doing great work so that there can be that collaboration and partnership. But having that conversation with Shannon really made me hopeful that this will continue in the conversations. We also brought up maybe having some focus groups in the coming months once they hire that service manager to really hear from the community.
Thank you. And because I know, again, Katrina Robinson had come in here from Life Cares United Foundation, kind of talking through their limited capacity right now. And so it's good to hear that Shannon was kind of acknowledging that and opening up to like further collaborations. And then Dr. Hogan had mentioned beforehand that Sergeant Gamrot with the Fargo Police Department is also doing some analysis of how they can expand their reach over there. So I think he's out right now, but we're looking forward to having conversations about how to increase that. As the residents noted a while back that they wanted an increased presence from the Fargo Police Department over there. But yeah, so I guess it sounds like the collaboration is moving forward. People are interested, and hopefully this year we'll just see a better community over there. Did anybody else want to? I don't know if anybody else had conversations with them.
Yeah, thank you, Zoe, for looking into that. The only thing I look forward to is to maybe in the next few months we can have like an update as to how the hiring process went and what are the services that are being incorporated. I think we've had this discussion for a long time, and it's great that is moving out in the right trajectory. It would be so beautiful to see, a very happy ending. Thank you.
I also viewed the Police Advisory Board meeting, and they had a presentation by the police department on their work in the arbors. It was incomplete because the man that,
Sergeant Gamrod.
the man that under his purview was gone. So the person briefing did a nice job, but he didn't want to get into too much. But I'm not quite sure since how we collaborate with the Police Advisory Board, but they are working on it in a presentation on what the police are doing in that area. It was very interesting, and I would really like to have that kind of a presentation come before this board, because we've spent a lot of time on the arbors, and a lot of it has to do with the crime there. So I would really appreciate it if we can to have a presentation.
Sure, we can talk. I think Dr. Hogan and Chief Cebulski can talk about having that come before us next few months, maybe.
Maybe next month. He'll be back.
We can try to. Yeah.
Come on, Cody. You can do it.
They can try to. Fantastic. Okay. Anything else on that discussion right now? Okay. Moving into announcements. Don Stallenworth, I had one, Don Stallenworth from the fire department had messaged over to Dr. Hogan and let me know that that the Fargo Fire Department wanted to let us know that they're starting another recruitment campaign. Applications will be open from April 1st through the 12th. I know that a couple of months ago they had stopped by our working session, I think, and Rochelle, you had some comments on how they could kind of increase the DEI work there as well. So individuals applying must have a high school diploma or equivalent. They must have a valid driver's license, be of sound mental and physical health, and must have the ability to understand the English language, both written and spoken. And so I just wanted to put it out there that Fargo Fire Department is looking at that. If people want to talk with Dr. Hogan, any commissioners here want to collaborate and work on how we can increase DEI initiatives there. That's another education or outreach opportunity.
I'm really excited about that. That's really exciting. Maybe we now can push forward for some recruitment in the community, diversity within the fire department. So yeah, one step at a time. I'm excited.
Certainly. And I can send this email out to all the commissioners as well. They have a QR code for applications. Very millennial. So yeah, we will look into that. I guess, are there any activities that people want to mention? I can't. Yeah.
Fred from Fred Dissonance emailed me yesterday about HRC's participation in their Juneteenth event, similarly to the MLK event that we were co-hosts with or partners with. So just thought I would mention to everyone here if that is something we want to be partners in with them, which I think MLK was really a great event for us to be part of. So I'm for it. But.
Yes, Fred did send out a proposal, so I am in the process now of reviewing that proposal to see what we can do. We did have Juneteenth, I believe last year, if you will, and it went extremely well. So I will review it and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Anybody else have announcements on events going on in the next month that they would like to make a shout out for?
Well, they have a sidebar conversation. I'll bring up some events. No,
thank you.
perfect. I'm like, and
Thank
I'll
you.
speak. So, Long story short, as many of us are aware, it's Black History Month. Next month is going to be Women's History Month, so there is a multitude of events taking place throughout that of West Fargo, and Moorhead, especially that at the university level, different speakers, different things like that as well. So if you are interested in attending any of those events, look on Concordia's, NDSU's, and MSUM's sites, and you can find that quite easily. Otherwise, I can put a calendar together, get that to Cody, and we can see if that can be available on our site as well. But want to acknowledge that and then also make people aware of upcoming events and where to find those out.
Thank you. And so, yeah, we'll go, if nobody else has anything, we'll hop into staff updates next, which here I wanted to make an announcement that Ahmed and Dr. Hogan had been working with the comms department for City of Fargo and put together a mock-up for a brochure that we might be, an updated brochure that might be able to use at future events. This is, are you able to scroll down or up on this?
I can, sure.
Okay. So yeah, it's a 2-pager. So just so people, there we go. Okay. Okay. So yeah, just FYI, we have this new brochure coming out. Just want to make people aware of it. Please send critiques or what. I suppose we don't have this in the email out to other commissioners yet, but yeah, it's a fun update. Yeah.
This is, I should update you on the Education Committee had a meeting, and we are going to be focusing on rental housing and the rights of renters. We're looking to have an event in April because it's Fair Housing Month. And so we will have more as we try to pull this together to provide information to our community and to those in on their rights as renters and the rights of landlords as landlords. So, but an education event for the community in that. We are very concerned and have been concerned about housing and low-income housing, housing that's affordable. I'm going to say affordable housing for our residents in Fargo. So,
Thank you. Okay. So ordinarily we would hop over to public comment. Since we have a little bit of time right now, Saku did want to ask the Code Pink folks one more question. So if I could ask KJ to come back up to the podium. I'm sorry and thank you. We're deviating a little bit from procedure, but here we go.
Thank you. Sorry for pulling you back to the podium. It just came to mind because I was thinking about the draft resolution, and you're from Concordia, and I know.
I'm not from Concordia. One of our letter readers were from Concordia.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard Concordia. So I just wanted to know if you were cooperating or collaborating with other schools within the Fargo Moorhead area, so that because once one school hears that another school was here and they did a draft resolution, they also want to come. If you in contact with other schools so that we present one united front on this issue instead of have school after school coming to present the same resolution on the ceasefire.
Yes, we have a lot of different community members working with us. Some are students at NDSU, some are students at MSUM, some are Concordia students, some are doctors, graduates, some are working class. We've got people from all walks of life working with us on this, and we have been in collaboration with all of them to draft this together.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for me?
Yeah, can you throw a little light on some of the events you talk about?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So I did hand out to each of you some of the, I believe it's 3 of the upcoming events. One is going to be a Patrice workshop, which will be this Saturday. It is a Palestinian art form that is similar to cross stitch. It has a very rich history behind it that we will be delving into, as well as serving tea and teaching people how to do that. We will be having a documentary screening for 5 Broken Cameras on the 28th at MSUM. And there will be a series that we are introducing called Leap into Action. The first one is titled, Where Do I Even Start? It's a question we get a lot, and it will address a brief overview of the long history, events that have been taking place recently, as well as ways to get involved in the community, both locally and on a larger scale, both small and big things. And then each following session will address a specific topic. Then we will go into events that have taken place since our last meeting. And again, a reminder on ways to get involved or upcoming events. Those will take place every other Thursday.
Is the public invited, and where can they find this information?
The public is invited to all of those, and we highly encourage people to come out. There are Facebook events for all of them. They can be found on the Facebook event page. They can be searched. The Tatris one is Tatris and Tea. The MSUM movie is MSUM Screening 5 Broken Cameras. Is the title correct? Yep. 5 Broken Cameras film screening. And then you can search by name The Leap into Action, and that one will come up as well. There are also flyers that are posted at various community boards around town, and we frequently go and post about different events at different community boards, including the libraries.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think we're done that time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah. The next item is public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Rights Commission must use the sign-in sheet. Speakers must state their name and will be limited to 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Comments should not contain profanity or personal attacks. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
We don't. However, do you guys have anything you want to say?
Does anybody here? Victoria? Yeah? Okay. Congratulations on winning at the event again.
Oh, thank you. I was expecting that right there. But I'm going to be watching for that one, making recommendation to the city commissioners about funding. So I'm going to be watching for that and see if you guys hold to their words. Chair and commissioners, my name is Victoria. As some of you already know me, I'm a family advocate. I am so glad that Caroline Beecroft spoke about the housing issue that's you guys going to be having discussion. And as a family advocate, I work with a lot of families. We work with diverse group of families. But this year has been one of the toughest year when you start getting calls about people getting evicted. Eviction rates are going very high. I don't know what's happening, but we normally don't deal with housing issues. We don't usually do that. We connect families to resources and things like that. But the numbers that are coming to us, especially when you look at families with younger children getting evicted in a cold weather, it breaks your heart. As an advocate, you just want to know, what can you do? I just want this commission to really start having conversation around that and start collecting data and start looking at what's happening. How can you guys better be a voice for some of those families? Because not everybody reaches out to us. The ones that reach out to us, we'll be able to connect them to resources because we know the connections, we know where they can go and get help, and we can be there and hold their hands. But the ones that don't have that access and don't know that we can do that for them, it's hard. And so that's something I would like for you guys to start having conversation around and start really collecting the data and start looking at, is this happening? I can tell you, based on the clients that are coming to us, I can tell you who their property managements are. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I want you guys to start maybe looking at collecting data based on those, property management and start looking at, okay, what can you group here do and how can you be the facilitator and stuff to be able to help and be a voice and also be able to help families understand where their rights are. Because when they get that 3-day notice, sometimes they panic, right? And they just get out. They don't understand that they have to go through the process of the legal system. So they try to avoid that and they end up homeless. So that's really something that I would like to see, not only this board, but also the commission start having conversation around that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. With that, I also want to say how much we appreciate. I think Concordia Colleges stopped by and maybe NDSU stopped by as well today. So that's really fun to see some civic engagement there. Thank you, folks. Is there any other business people want to talk about?
Yeah. So just to react to the speaker up there, Mr. Chairman, I would really suggest that we look into that issue. This is an existential matter in Fargo. The issue of eviction, I think is kind of correlated with the increase in rent and the lack of knowledge on tenants' rights for residents. I just have a feeling that that is an issue that we really need to throw light into. And I would really appreciate if we can partner with individuals and communities, organizations that really work with residents in Fargo that have been affected with eviction. We can get some sort of like working tools or data to begin having these discussions. But I really suggest that we try to advance that matter into our discussions.
Come join our committee.
Anybody else? Thank you, Tamba. Okay. Thank you for that response. Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Rights Commission stands adjourned. Our next meeting, I believe, is scheduled for March 21st at noon. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.